seen before, and it's incredibly powerful because of those incentives that Raul's talking about. And if you look at, let's take the societal aspect for a second. And I talk about this all the time, so those who have heard me, apologize for being repetitive. But if you look at some of the biggest companies and success stories in the world, where the equity holders benefited at the expense of the customers, right? Whether it's McDonald's, right? McDonald's shareholders are almost never the same as the McDonald's customers. Whether it's the newcomers like Airbnb or DoorDash, where regular people made those companies work, but only a handful of VCs made all the money on the stock. Or even something like Amazon, right? Where you could be an Amazon Prime member, which is basically being a network member, without necessarily being an Amazon shareholder, which is the ones who benefit from the growth of that. Well, what tokens are doing is they're combining that. They're saying there is no such thing now as customer versus shareholder. You're all the same people. You're in the network and you're part of it. You're going to own tokens and you're going to benefit from the financial upside as well as from the network benefits. And when you think about what that does from a societal impact, it's probably the most positive development we've ever seen from wealth equality, right? You no longer have to be an elite to make money, right? Everyone always talks about you have to have money to make money. Well, that's not true anymore. Here, go be the first, gamer on a new game and earn some tokens. Go be the first user of a DeFi application and farm for some tokens. You now don't have to come in with money to make money. You can be an active participant and be rewarded for what you're doing. And now let's go back 15 years ago when Facebook was started. It's very famous. It's a very famous story now that Facebook figured out growth hacking before anyone else. They realized through data that if you could get an early user of Facebook to like 10 posts and to follow 10 people within the first week, that they were going to be very sticky customers. So Facebook did everything they could to trick people into doing those actions. Well, digital assets is doing the same thing, only instead of tricking you, they're paying you for those actions. They're saying, if you do the things we want you to do, we're going to give you a piece of our upside. That is incredibly, incredibly powerful. It puts all of the growth back into the hands of the people who make the growth possible. So when you focus on that societal benefit, not to mention the governance, which we didn't even talk about, the ability to actually have a voice, digital assets is the most powerful instrument we've ever seen in terms of capital formation, network effect, evangelism, and equality. And once these companies figure that out, again, it's not going back, right? It's just a matter of how fast we can get a regulatory framework to allow for this. And then to back to 15 minutes ago, the question about like the current crop of tokens versus what's coming, some of the current crop of tokens are still going to be amazing and powerful, but others are going to be a blip relative to Disney token or, Delta token or, a California token or Duke token, right? I mean, like, this is where we're headed. And I think it's this industry is going to be, we talk about, 5-10 trillion. I mean, this could be hundreds of trillions when you talk about all the different, wealth effects that are going to come from this.
And you guys are blowing my mind. People are saying it in the chat, but I mean, that vision is incredible. The question, Raoul, when we've talked in the past, you've always sort of believed that we would have a much more accelerated timeline than people probably assume, right? We would sort of joke, oh, this will happen in 10 years. You're like, no, 6 months, right? But this requires, as Jeff said, this requires sensible regulation, and it also requires a voice inside these institutions.
It's coming. I mean, I'm working on this actively in the background in various projects. It's coming at you much faster than you understand. If we, you see me with that adoption curve chart all the time, just trying to get people don't really yet understand what that means, right? We're 300 million active users worldwide in digital assets. It means it gets to, essentially, it's growing at 185%. We get to 600 million plus, call it 750 million by the end of this year. Even if we have a slow year, we get to 500 million. The year after, it's 1 billion. The year after that, it's 2 billion. The year after that, it's 4 billion, right? So the speed of which this is coming, people do not comprehend. And the movement, I think, from the $2 trillion asset class today to the $200 trillion asset class that Jeff's talking about is by the end of the decade. It's the fastest growth of any asset class in all history, the fastest adoption of technology in all history, and it's going to be the fastest generation of wealth in all history. That's what's going on. And we all get lost in the day-to-day of the ups and downs of the market and, shouting at each other over Cardano versus, fucking whatever. And it's just all noise. It's just noise because you've got the biggest, fastest secular trend any of us will ever live through. And we can participate. We don't have to be VCs. We don't have to be the rich dude who's got the access. You just need to get involved. And also keep a very open mind. as Jeff and I have been trying to explain here, this is not about Bitcoin. It's not about Ethereum. It's about a complete and total business model revolution. So it's not just financial, it's everything. And once people open their minds to it, you'll see how big this is.